So he carries on though within this context. Self-effort which is not in accord with the scriptures is motivated by delusion. Now, the self-effort that we're talking about, we do need to make self-effort. The effort we need to make is not to behave in certain ways and to do this, to follow this principle, and to reject other forms of behaviour. What we are concerned with is the effort in observing our attention, observing where our attention is getting hijacked, and bringing the attention back to itself. That is the effort we have to make, and it's the only effort we have to make from a spiritual point of view. So it seems to me this passage is deviating from the spiritual. We can certainly take on board what's being said about self-effort as applied to our senses and how we get hijacked by thoughts and by external influences. That is the effort we need to make. So let's just press on it and get through this section. When there is obstruction in the fruition of self-effort, one should examine it to see if there is such deluded action, and if there is, it should be immediately corrected. So what we can understand here is we can see, are we in a state where our attention is hijacked? Are we in a state of hypnotism? Have we been hypnotized by something which has grabbed our attention? And if so, we can correct it in the sense of realizing it and bringing the attention back to itself. There is no power greater than right action in the present. So right action here is observation of the attention and bringing it back to itself. Hence, one should take recourse to self-effort, grinding one's teeth, and one should overcome evil by good and fate by present effort. So this again seems to be talking about something else here. Grinding one's teeth. It's not that kind of effort. It is because we're not pushing against anything. We're observing, we're making the effort to observe. And it's not about overcoming evil by good. It's not a moral issue. Evil in this sense is having our attention hijacked, is being lost. Good is being aware. And fate, well, fate, again, that's a useful term in a way, because fate is all our tendencies which allow our attention to be hijacked. So all the we've got a whole bundle of predispositions, a whole bundle of psychological tendencies which tend to want to let us be drawn in certain directions. That is what we've got to make the effort with. And there's no grinding of teeth, because that's just contributing to a sense of drama that we're engaged in, and that drama is just another fiction. It allows us to miss the point. It's something we either do or we don't. So again, it seems so this notion of effort is being misapplied here, and it gets worse. The lazy man is worse than a donkey. One should never yield to laziness, but strive to attain liberation, seeing that life is ebbing away every moment. Well, that's fair enough. This effort should be made continuously. I mean, if we don't make ourselves feel guilty about it. But really, if this is what we're about, we don't take a holiday from it. We don't take a holiday from it. One should not revel in the filth known as sense pleasures as a worm revels in pus. Well, I think he's overdoing it a bit there. One who says fate is directing me to do this is brainless, and the goddess of fortune abandons him. Hence, by self-effort, acquire wisdom, and then realize that this self-effort is not without its own end in the direct realization of the truth. So in other words, and I think that this is quite good, instead of giving yourself up and saying it's a hopeless cause, keep at it, keep at it. Or even if you do mess it up, then just come back to it. There's no need for self-beration, or self-flagellation, which is what this kind of language we've got here tends to encourage. And it goes right over the top now. If this dreadful source of evil named laziness is not found on earth, who will ever be illiterate and poor? It is because laziness is found on earth that people live the life of animals, miserable and poverty-stricken. I mean, this is quite rich, coming from the Hindu tradition, which traditionally designates certain people as untouchable, and more or less forces them to live as animals. Of course, everybody can try and make the most of their situation, but it isn't about laziness. This is really going into the realm of politics, and it's really misapplying the notion of self-effort here, applying it to the world in general. The laziness is about self-effort, and it's not about self-effort in the sense of acquiring wealth and riches. It's about self-effort in terms of one's own psychology and in one's own relationship with the world. Valmiki said at this stage it was time for evening prayers, and the assembly broke up for the day.